On Friday, when we did the parent functions, there was a semicircle. There was a semicircle on there. So we talked about the circle equation like that much, right? I didn't even have you write anything down. But you learn them in geometry, then you pretty much never talk about them again, at least the equations. But they're on the SAT, and they expect you to know them, and they expect you to know them pretty well. So we're going to kind of go through this. I'm going to baby step you through it, hopefully knock some cobwebs off, help you with hopefully how to remember these things so that you can get it correct on the exam if it comes up. Well, when it comes up, because you should have not necessarily tons of questions, but even if it's just one, every little question helps, okay? So I think it's important to know, because here's your reference materials that you get on the SAT. Equation of the circle, not on there, okay? So they don't give that to you. So for you to make sense of it, now it's possible the kind of question you have, they give you an equation, so when you see the format, things kind of make sense to you. But if for some reason you have to come up with the equation, it helps to know where it comes from. So that's always very important to me. So we're going to talk about the fact that the equation of a circle is based on the distance formula. But the distance formula, that comes from Pythagorean theorem. Okay, and Pythagorean theorem, we should all know pretty well, right? A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So if we can make some of those connections, that can help us in the long run. Now, when I look at this picture over here, I've got the center of the circle. I've got some point on the circle. And then what do we call the distance from the center to any point? The radius. Very good. So that is the radius. So there's my radius. The center point is always referred to as HK. Depending on who you had for Algebra 2, and then again, maybe who you had for Algebra 3, when you talked about parabolas and other graphs, they could have used H and K in there, but you can also use C and D. So, I mean, you can use any letter you want, and maybe one teacher used H and K and another one. So they kind of, there's not centers of those, but they all kind of are related to each other. But the center of a circle, HK. Then this is some point out here, XY, right? So we're going to come up with the circle equation, which is not something you have to be able to do on your own. I just, again, think it's important for you to understand that this is not something that somebody just made up and decided that this was going to be the formula one day, right? So we're going to start with the distance formula. Distance formula is this big old yucky square root thing, which is x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. And we come up with that basically from the Pythagorean theorem. We won't talk about where we get that from. But we're going to take what we have and put it into the distance formula. So the distance between these 2 points is the radius. So the distance is the radius. That's equal to. And then if I subtract the x values, the input values, this is going to be x minus h squared. Then I subtract the y values, plus y minus k squared. Okay, all I did was substitute it in from that graph. Everybody okay with where everything came from? All right, but I don't want this nasty looking square root in here. How do I undo a square root? Square it, okay, square it. That's the opposite there. So I'm going to square both sides. And when I do that, that's going to give me r squared equals x minus h squared plus y minus k squared, like that. Okay. So again, you don't have to recreate that at any point, but do you understand where everything came from and how we came up with the equation just from using that stuff from the graph? The standard form of a circle equation could be written like that. Most of the times it's flipped around though. So the equation of a circle with center HK and radius r, we're going to write that down but flip around the equal sign. So we get x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Now in a perfect world, you would know that equation and be comfortable with it and do just fine on all these circle questions. Chances are pretty good that maybe you're not super comfortable with that because it does look yucky. But if you at least know what it looks like, and even if they, so if I gave you an equation, you could know what the pieces are. That's the important part. And really, one of the biggest mistakes is messing up this part right here. That's why I want you to have it tied in your brain to the fact that it comes from Pythagorean theorem. Something squared plus something squared equals something squared. All right, so that this part here is r squared. It's not just r when you just see a number. And I'll kind of explain what I mean by that when we get to one of those. But there it is. Since this would be a multiple choice part of the test, it's not like you're going to have to write it out. They'll either have to give you an equation, either in the question or in the answer choices. So you'd at least see the form. But let's talk about if we do have this and we're trying to write an equation, what we would do. Okay. So I have a circle A with this center and this radius. So I'm going to label it. My center is HK. My radius is 3. Then I'm going to substitute in what I know. And just like any other equation, when I'm done, I should have an X and Y in there, but all my other letters should be gone. They should be numbers or not there at all. So when I substitute this in, I'm going to get X minus H, which is 4 squared, plus Y minus a negative 2, because that's K, squared, equals 3 squared. And what you'll hear me say a lot is first step should be zero work, you just substitute it in. I know that there are lots of times where you can simplify things as you put it in there. That's where the careless mistakes happen. So we make sure we substitute everything in, and then we clean it up. Here's the good news. I don't have to actually square this. And if I did, it would not be x squared plus 16, just so you know. But I don't have to actually square that. I actually want it in that form. So this just stays x minus 4 squared. But this I can clean up a little bit. What's y minus a negative 2? What happens when you subtract a negative? Plus a positive, so it becomes y plus 2 squared. And then I can't leave it as 3 squared. 3 squared is 9. That's the equation of your circle. Okay? So you could be asked, what is the equation if I'm given this? And so we know what to put in. And, or, you know, you wouldn't even have to do all that because you're matching. Or maybe we get this and we're asked what the center and the radius is. And I guarantee you one of the choices will be that the radius is 9. That's why you want to remember squared plus squared plus squared. This is the radius squared, which makes my radius 3. Okay? Easy enough. It's really, hopefully that's pretty straightforward. All right, I'm going to give you a minute. I want you to do B. You can talk to your neighbor. You can help your neighbor to make sure that we all understand it. Okay. You haven't written anything down. That doesn't work in this class. You take notes or you leave. So I went and talked to your counselor this morning. So what are you going to be in? Algebra 3?
Yeah,
okay.
It's because I told her that I was okay with being in here and just take the TSI exam. So you know,
yeah, okay.
I don't really care about it.
Yeah.
And then she was like, okay, but I think they needed like a more like a faster, like they just wanted me to move faster. I guess.
Okay. All right.
So because I had to be, because they gave me my co-op period, but not
okay.
like free periods. So.
Okay, got it. We good? Or you have a question? You're good? Okay. All right. All right, let me work through this and we'll see if we agree. Okay, so that's what happens when I substitute it in. So hopefully we know that 8 squared is 64. And then y minus a negative 3 would be y plus 3. Okay. Then if you left it as x minus 0 squared, that's not wrong and that's okay. However, that's not how it would be as an answer choice because it's not simplified all the way. What is x minus 0? X. So really this is just x squared. Just don't eliminate it completely, which is what I saw somebody do earlier today. Like it's not like the whole term goes away. it's just x squared. And then if you see something like that, you know that that h value is 0, and then your k value is -3. Okay. What questions do we have? Anything? Okay. All right. So then what happens when I have a circle that passes through a point and has a center at -6,3? So that's basically giving me this point and this point. So we know the center, we know some point on the circle, we don't know what the radius is. So we're going to find that out, which means I'm going to, let's go ahead and I'm just going to rewrite the equation so that you can see it here. Minus k squared equals r squared. All right, so the center is hk. This is even more important that we actually label them here. The other point is some random point on the circle. That's just xy. Okay, so that we use the correct things in here. So now I substitute in everything I know. I know I have an x value I can use. That is -2 minus the h value, which is a -6 squared, plus y, which is 6, minus k, which is 3 squared, equals r squared, because I don't know r. But now that's my only unknown, so it's no big deal. Okay. What is -2 minus a -6? 4, because this becomes plus a positive, so that's going to be 4 squared plus 3 squared equals r squared. So then that is 16 plus 9. What is 16 plus 9? 25. So 25 is equal to r squared, and r equals what? 5. Now, technically, when I solve this, I get plus or minus, but would a negative radius make sense? No, so we're just using the positive one. Just always want to remind you that we can't forget about plus or minus because that gets us in trouble. So now I have the radius. They didn't ask me for the radius. I'm supposed to be writing an equation, but I needed to get that. So I have my radius. The other thing I need is the center. That's this right here. For me, when I do these questions, I go through, and after I get that far, I mark that ordered pair out so I don't accidentally pick up one of those numbers when I'm not supposed to, because that's a very easy mistake to make. So now that I have this and this, I can write my equation. X minus a -6 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 5 squared. This is going to give me x plus 6 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 25. Okay. Any questions at all? It's a lot like any other question you would do. Just substitute everything you know, figure out what you need to know, and there you go. Okay, questions? All right, then you work on D. Take that little pass here. Just student assistant. So will you be my student assistant still?
Just for today.
Just for today. Okay, I was just, all right, here, yeah, just take that. I know it has the wrong school year on it, but it's fine. Just tell them it's my fault. Wake up. I'm going to make you stand up and do jumping jacks. All right, so my circle passes through. So this is my xy. This is my hk. Right, so then I'm going to have 2 minus 2 squared plus 3 minus a -1 squared equals r squared. Well, 2 minus 2 is 0. 0 squared is 0. So I really don't even have to write 0 down. 0 plus 4 squared equals r squared. Okay, which means r squared is 16, but really if 4 squared equals r squared, then r equals 4. Okay, I need that. So I need this, and I need my center. So this is going to give me x minus 2 squared plus y minus a negative 1 squared equals 4 squared. Okay. Your assignment for this is going to be in Delta Math. Delta Math will not take it when you leave it like this. It's got to be x minus 2 squared plus y plus 1 squared equals 16. Okay. What questions do you have? Anything? We all good? Swap this to a plus. Yeah, minus a negative, just make it plus. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? We good? Awesome. All right. Now, I do want to actually talk about one more thing before that, because this will come up in Delta Math, and I just want to make sure. I know I didn't do a question like this, but for a reason. But if let's say that I do something like that, and I'm figuring all this out, and I get that r squared equals, I don't know, 50. Okay. That means that r is equal to the square root of 50. Now, can I simplify that? Yes. But do I need to? No, because I'm about to put it right back in something and figure out what r squared is, right? And if I square this, the square root of 50 squared is just 50. So you're going to get some square roots. Don't overthink it. Don't make it harder than it is just because it's a square root, okay? And when you get to those questions, if you're unsure about yourself, you let me know. We good? We're going to leave the back for tomorrow because I wanted to split this into 2. So the first thing I want you to do, keep this out because that way you have something to look at. I want you to get on your computers and go to class link before you do anything else.